from a sturdier cloth. I think the fabric was dungaree.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, 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 well read, sisters. And welcome to another edition of Behind the Pages Author Chat Series with Well Read Sisters Inc. Well Read Sisters Inc. is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the personal and professional development of Black women. Just by being here, you are helping to further that mission. Hashtag tell a sister, bring a sister, as we continue to be intentional on our self-love journey. Don't forget, the book of the month is up, and it is time to RSVP for the next book club discussion. That's going to be on Sunday, January 25th, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, virtually and in person in select cities. Make sure you RSVP via your Halo and Eventbrite so you know what is happening. The next New Sister Sync, which is an orientation meeting for our new sisters and a hey, what's going on for our existing sisters, is going to be on Monday, February 3rd. Monday, February 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, completely virtual. We'll go over the events that's happening in February. Any Sunday that's not a book club Sunday, join us for Sis You Good, weekly wellness check-in. We go days, weeks on end sometimes, not checking in with ourselves and not being intentional on checking on another sister. That sounds like something you're interested in? Join us every Sunday that's not a book club Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we discuss food for thought questions, what's happening with us, and of course, what we're reading. To see you there. Without further ado, because I am ready, I have my notes, I have my stickies. Welcome the amazing Rachel Eliza Griffiths to the screen and to the stage so we can discuss the flower bearers. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, I'm so glad to join the sisterhood tonight and be in this conversation with you. Thank you. I love to see the post-its because that is the reading. Thank you so much for holding space with me. And I'm so happy to hold space with all the sisters checking in on themselves. Intentional is how my days are organized every day. So I appreciate you. And I thank you all for inviting me to community.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being here. It matters. We're knocking on 9 years. Almost 5,000 Black women globally connecting through literature and true good intention, right? So I'm very excited whenever we get to meet with an author, whenever you share your time, those minutes, as well as writing something beautiful like this, it matters to the sisterhood. It's like candy for me. So thank you. Thank you, right, to the powers that be, because I chopped this up. Yum, yum, yum. Welcome again.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I like to always start with a nice level setting question, right? Sisters have many obligations, many things going on, many books that they want to read. They may go into a lovely Black owned bookstore. Let's say Gladys, for instance, Gladys Books and Wine. I don't know. Pops into my mind for some reason, right? And so they go there and they only have perhaps $29 in the US to purchase a novel. They can come back tomorrow, but today they only have those $29. Why should they pick up The Flower Bearers? And what would you want them to feel once they read it?
This question, I would want them to pick up The Flower Bearers because it is a story about two Black sisters who meet in grad school, who are becoming writers, who are coming into their own, and they go on an adventure for 17 years. And they show up for each other. They dance, they hold each other down, they cry, they grieve, they celebrate, they publish, they create, they imagine. They eat food and gather and hold space. And it will, I hope, for whoever picks it up, bring their own memories to the forefront of loving relationships between Black women and sisters that we got us. And so I think they will come away feeling really deeply for the relationships that they have, particularly with Black women in their lives.
Oh, yes. I'm inclined to agree. That's a definite. From cover, and I understand I have the early cover, right? So I can't wait to see the whole wrap around. But this is gorge. Ooh, yes, do share. Is this you?
This is a self-portrait of me because I'm also a photographer, and this is me as a flower bear. So this is me, and here she is on the back. And so I am on the cover of my memoir. And then I also did my author page, my author photo as well in my studio. So my Black womanhood is wrapped all around this book. It's in this book. Every image representational needed to be intentional for me with this book.
It felt that way. It's super dope to find out, first of all, that it's you and that you're a photographer. And so, this idea of being the talent, right? And then being the artiste building it. What's that balance for you? What's that balance?
It's a very sweet balance for me. It's very complicated, but I think it's very empowering. I get to challenge myself to kind of look at myself, but also I can present myself how I want to be and I can expand. And technically, it is very challenging to wrap flowers around your head and be trying in your studio to light yourself and then have the feeling and the emotion. But I think there is a really beautiful way that I wanted to have the cover reflect the love, the natural world, the elegy, but also the praise and the beauty of Black women in the book and that journey. So most of my photographs and things I make are focused on Black women, Black women's stories, Black women's inner lives, because when I make images of Black women, they're love letters, they're poems, they're praise songs. So I know me best. And so when I look at other sisters, I just want them to see the beauty I see and witness. That's where my camera is happiest, looking at another sister and holding space and witnessing her dignity in the world, truly, and witnessing my own. Because sometimes, as you mentioned, we can get caught up in our days and not have a moment to self, check in and give yourself that self-love because we're running. Or as back in the day, my mother used to say, ripping and running, but we're running out here. We're doing so much that it just feels really important to have images for me in my home and where I go in my studio, where I'm seeing both a vulnerable and powerful and delicate and powerhouse Black women. So I really appreciate that question.
First of all, beautiful response. You're making this very fun, I must say, right? It's lovely to be excited about something, feel like it's a treasure, then speak to who wrote it, and they're like, and yeah, and it was intentionally that way. Yes, didn't trip onto it. Yes, it was intentionally this beautiful.
Mhm.
I really identify with the feeling of, and I'm not a photographer, I just like a good pic, right? But I enjoy seeing other Black women enjoy or in their best selves or in their gratitude or being uplifted. I feel that joy as well. When you speak about being a poet and being a writer, being a novelist, I consider myself to be a poet. My challenge has always been when I want to share something, what should be a poem and what should be a story? I can tell a really great story, but I can also give a really great poem. This feels infused in a way to share the choices you made when you know this should be a poem and when you know, no, this should be a story.
I feel for the flower bearers. I never written a memoir before. So I felt I wanted to challenge myself because that felt really risky for me not to be able to place my story in a piece of fiction and do like auto fiction or kind of self fiction or, this is thinly veiled fiction accounts. I didn't want to do that with this. And I also didn't want to put the material in this book into a poem because that would almost be too easy for me. That would be too familiar. And because there's so many moments in the flower bearers where I'm in really challenging situations that are places I've never been before emotionally, spiritually. I'm kind of out of my depths. I'm in the waves. I'm trying to tread water. I felt like I wanted to go into the form of the memoir. And so I think for me in general, I tend to be a shapeshifter with genre. I don't like boxes. I just want to be everything and find out. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I start a piece and I'm like, oh, this is the poem here. And then it's not clicking. It's not working. It's feeling forced. It's not feeling organic. It's not feeling rooted. So then I'll be like, I'm in the lab. So let me try a paragraph. And then I'll be like, is that the rhythm? Is that the beat? Because I'm a poet. I'm a lyric photographer, and my prose is very lyrical. So my ear is my editor. I read aloud constantly. And when I'm not breathing really or holding my breath or the words are just feeling like I'm trying too hard, it's back to the beginning. Get back to the basics. So I feel like the material will tell me what it wants to be, but I have to try to, you know, put it into different containers and then see, like, is this the right body for it? Is it breathing now? Are all the organs in here? I think with the flower bears, because a lot of the storyline is about coming of age as a poet, there are poems in the flower bear. There is imagery, which is the cover. And so it's kind of a lot of my different identities suddenly converging in a space. But sometimes, I'll fool around and I'll have something and I'll be even sometimes a poem. I'll be like, let me try to photograph this. Let me see what that looks like. Because I can always walk it back to where I came from, but I'm trying to go forward. And so sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know about this, but it might be working for another project, the process I tried. So I like to really experiment, and then I don't get too sad when I have to let go of like 50 pages because it's not working. Then I'm like, okay, I only lost 50, but I'm going to put those somewhere for something else, like a different dish or something. Like, with these ingredients, I'm going to make me something else tomorrow. That's how I feel with it.
Now, have you done that? Have you taken 50 pages and then said, you know what, this is a short, or I'm going to use this in a different way somewhere down the line?
Absolutely. 50 pages. I mean, I've been, with memoir, you kind of go back in time. And as I was working on the memoir, I needed to go find my younger self and what she was writing and who she was, because I'm not the same person now. It was a different version of myself. I have stacks, hundreds of pages actually, of books I knew I was going to write, short stories I knew I was going to write, really terrible poems. Thank goodness I didn't take them anywhere. But I'm like, I appreciate you, younger self. You were really trying to get somewhere. And because you wrote this terrible poem, 4 poems later, that's when you started heating up for the poem you needed to write, which is a poem you still respect about yourself when you were that age. So it's all part of the process. It's all part of the evolution for me.
Very organic. It feels very honest and true. Often when we chat with the sisterhood, we feel that disconnect with memoirs. It could be a little easier to be lofty, a little easier to make it realistic fiction. It could be, my friend, but maybe it's not. This is your life. And you gave it in such a raw way. I cried, literally cried. It was such a beautiful cry because I feel like you shared a piece of yourself. And as a reader and as a writer, what are we all doing then? Like, if we're not putting a piece of ourselves in the book, what are we doing? The whole idea is this is this timeless piece of something, and someone will learn from it. If you don't get into those not so pleasant parts, what are we doing?
I totally agree with you. And I think for me, whether it's been poetry or visual work or this memoir, I have to go there because it feels disingenuous as an artist if I'm hiding or,
We can feel it.
trying to veil it. The reader feels it and I feel it. And I'm like, oh no, honey, we don't do this. If you can't, speak your truth to yourself, how can you offer truth or talk about truth? And I don't mean kind of preachy truth. I mean, I'm on the ground, and I appreciate knowing your experience reading the book. I would lay on the floor some days crying, a mess. How can I write this? But also, how can I not write this? Because there is a future me who is going to look back at this moment, who will remember this conversation and be like, Rachel Eliza, you showed up. You fought for your peace. You were intentional. You took small wins every day, every sentence, every word, every tear, every sleepless night. And then you learn self-care. So you sleep now, you eat right, you tie, a rope around your waist before you jump off the cliff. We don't do cliff jumping anymore. But there is a way for me always. The page, the space as an artist is where I have to witness, I have to reckon. That's the threshing floor. And I have so many models, sis, of of women, especially women writers, where in this book, I'm going to Spelman to witness Audre Lorde's journals. So I need to come all the way correct. I'm going to visit the spiritual writings of Lucille Clifton. Wait a minute, I can't be demi spirit or semi spiritual like Lucille Clifton. I was fortunate to spend time with her. You couldn't be that way in front of Lucille Clifton. I was fortunate, as I write about in this book, to give a collection of poetry to Toni Morrison and put it in her hand and get down on my knees for her to take my hand and speak to me and tell me to keep going. So that's prayer. Whatever anyone might think of me, I already know. Like, I know I've come through this book. And so I'm very centered and rooted right now. I felt like I really cried so much. It's so raw. But also, this beautiful thing is no shame. Like, you know how James Baldwin is like, you didn't tell me, I told you. That's how I feel. But also, I'm good. In all the ways that Black people will say, I'm good. I'm good, you know, but also I'm good. I'm lovely. I care. I care about every person, every sister who is in her journey of healing, of grieving, of loving, because they're all connected. You cannot have one without having the other two. So in the book, there is this kind of constant dance, literally, of love, of grief, of trauma, of healing, of learning. And so, you know, at first, when I was on the journey, I thought, well, I don't want to talk about all that real life stuff that went down. Let me make a poem or let me try to start this new novel. And it was
A photograph. And you could have just
big,
put this photo out and had a nice blurb and let people dream the piece.
right. I wouldn't sleep at night. I'd be up like, you didn't tell the truth. You can hear your mama's spirit telling you, girl, you better get it together. Yeah, I just, you know, I also, because I know I'm not alone, especially in our community, Black women having so much on our shoulders, standing on shoulders. You know, there's so much history and memory, but also imagination, innovation, creativity, style, grace. So I wanted to give myself grace too, to say, you are at a point in your life, you have done the inner work, the shadow work, the sunlight work, the moonlight work. You have done all of the labor to come through now and stand with your head raised and your shoulders back. And as Toni Morrison would say, like, this isn't a grab bag. You have to free somebody else. You have to pull somebody else up. And that's what I'm hoping this book is doing, or will do, that it will say to someone, this too shall pass. You have a right to grieve and heal on your own timeline. You deserve rest and care. You deserve to be seen. So those are some of the things, you know, your question is so beautiful because I wouldn't be the type of person to write a memoir and, you know, reinvent myself as something I'm not. I'm pretty real at all times, actually. And I like that about myself. I don't know if that's the Sagittarius energy, the year of the horse energy, because I am a Sagittarius and I am a horse. That's my Chinese symbol. So I'm just like, it's my time. And when you lock that in too, it's just ascension and enlightenment and transformation. So I feel so grateful to be in conversation with you about this work, but also a bigger thing of how to live and be in this world on our own terms, you know, giving ourselves permission. That's what I had to do to even work on this memoir, was to just give permission.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to give ourselves permission to live in our truth. It's a fantasy to think that it's all going to be well received, or everyone's going to be most matured, or it's going to be perfect, and all of the unimportant parts. Freeing yourself is sharing your story. And I love what you shared. You have such a way with words, so you could have easily designed your narrative. And you opted to share it candidly. From the first few pages, I took a pause. Whoa, what am I reading? You have this balance, especially when you're reading Black literature, where we have to decide what voice we want to speak in and decide what roots that in real. And although we use metaphor and visuals, and I can see and feel and taste a lot of the things, I didn't feel so removed from the fact that this is a memoir and you're telling a story about a friendship. Now we have to get into that. To this sisterhood, this relationship you had with this soul sister, I would say. You have these people in life that God just chooses for you. And the way in which you were able to support each other over the course of like 20 years is such a refreshing thing. You didn't have to put on a mask. You didn't have to change. Thank you for sharing the story. It's such a beautiful moment wrapped in such a grief, such a balance. And I feel that came through for the people, the real characters that were in this novel. How were they able to support you in it those times through the writing? What was that like for them? Because they saw this in real time based on some of the things you shared, trying not to spoil a bit, but based on some of the things you shared, this was almost like a therapy for you as well. It was able to unlock some of the memories that maybe you weren't comfortable with looking into prior. What was it like for your environment, for your community?
I have an amazing circle of sisters around me. I have a village, and I feel as though one of the things when you're writing memoir, because you do, for me, want to really, I'm very respectful of other people's grief journeys. So the my beautiful chosen sister, who is not present here, but she is still present in my life, she's not in a vacuum. She's not isolated. She's a constellation. This was a celestial energy where she remains deeply loved and treasured. And all of us are in relationship to each other and what we need to express, how we choose to express it. One of the sections, one of the lines that opens one of the sections is from Regina King, who I just admire and just goddess, queen. When she experienced the loss of her beloved son, she was saying in an interview, grief is love that has no place to go. And again, on the floor crying. And I'm talking about the Viola Davis fences, snot, all the Oscar crying, nostrils, crying. But I also, for me, is like, I'm not going to be reckless with other people's feelings. It's not worth it to me to write a book that I'm just going to be snatching. That's just not my nature. I cannot do that. And I will not do that. So I think there was a way to focus on my small thread in a big life, a person's kind of big love, because my sister Aisha, her name means love. Like Aisha means love. And people even now bring up her name, her poetry, her everything. And, I just want to keep saying her name. I keep wanting people to go to her poetry. And I also wanted to show a real relationship. Most of my friends asked, I said, can I use your name? If there's anything, I never go into anyone's inner thoughts or anything, because there's boundaries. In my therapy and all of my inner work, boundaries are your friend. And I choose kindness. I choose to be nice, because I could also have the Newport.
It's what I'm saying. What's going on? I'm trying. This is the choice.
It really is a choice. It's better for my blood pressure. It's better for my heart.
You like feel your heart kind of grow every time you're kind. The stretch of your soul.
It feels good. So, just thinking of your question, for me, the kind of community, particularly with poets, Black poets, there's a village for me. And it's not that I didn't, that there's anything missing. It's just, again, when you're crafting this kind of book, there's so many things about Aisha that aren't in the book, but they're amazing things. But I had to focus, like, let me paint a picture. So whoever meets her on this page in this book, they're going to feel that love. And that's why the grief, when it does happen, is so raw and intense, because the love is still growing now and it's celestial and it's beyond my comprehension. But that feeling, which everyone tuning in, when you meet a sister and y'all look at each other and you're like, that's the one, and you don't have to wear a mask. There's no judgment. There's unconditional love. There can be pushback. There can be challenge. There can be like, let's talk this out. Let's talk this through. There's something going on, or I just need someone to listen to me talk about the same thing, but then tell me like it's been an hour, but like she was that, we were that space for each other. I was saying to someone like she could just put like her eyebrow up for a minute in a room and I'd be like, because she was so vibrant. So for 17 years, I had that. And so for me, a lot of people don't have that. So I don't take it for granted. I got 17 years that I could be my full self with another Black woman without judgment or criticism or fear, like just, and it was complicated. But that's because we were both growing as young Black women in New York City, trying to be poets, publish work, teach. The hustle was a hustle constantly. And she would always say, the meantime is a mean time. And we would just work and struggle. We were broke. When is our check coming? We're doing all these things, but we're trying to go to gigs. We're trying to do all of these things. So we could meet each other in different spaces. But we always used to talk about, almost meeting each other when we were 5 or 6 years old somehow. And then we got reconnected later on in life. But it was just one of the great loves of my life. And I think when you have those relationships, particularly with Black women, where you don't have to explain, where they will just, I do it all the time. Hey, sis, how are you? You okay? Just seeing something that someone else needs and quietly, I don't need a big production because I'm trying to help this woman out on the sidewalk, or she just dropped something, or she's just standing there crying. And I'm just like,
This is a good one.
tell me.
This is very Black lady. This is my love language.
I want to hear it.
When you go out and you're like online at the movie theater or something, and there are women's in front of you with a large bag, because we like to carry our lives in our purses, and she's about to dig in it, and you go by and you put your hand at the bottom of it. So she has the support to dig. You will always get the warmth. It's like, sis, thank you. No, I see you. Here you go. It's just dig for what you need. Was it a brush? Was it gum, sis? Was it like oddly a shoehorn? Whatever you need, sis, I'm here to lift this up. The Black lady love language and the support you can feel, just the air of it.
You feel better. You feel just more open. And I got to feel that all the time with my friend. And I can channel it now. I didn't think at first I could, or that it was gone and it disappeared. But there is a grief. And I remember seeing a clip, thinking of the Erykah Badu you played, where there's a clip where she talks about, with grief, you lose a version of yourself that you have to grieve. There's no one now that I laugh. There was a certain little chuckle, little thing I had. I don't do that with anyone now, but I remember that I used to with her, and I miss that. And I can still do it sometimes to remember her, but that's gone now. There's just certain ways of thinking about poetry that kind of ended with that space being closed. I can go into it, but it's not active. And so that kind of thing that people say sometimes with grief, there's a hole, there's something that's happening. And how can you support yourself? How can you actually allow people to support you if they can really see you? You have to go through so many levels to find the support that it's too painful. And you just like, let me just keep going. RIP, post it on it, like keep going. Okay. But spending time with yourself and your inner life to transform that grief, or to talk to it, or just to understand it a little bit, can just make a difference. And when someone reaches out to you to hold your bag up, or I have a tote bag. I probably have half of New York City in it. I don't know why I have 12 lip glosses in the tote bag. I can only use one at a time.
Feelings.
This is me. I don't know. I've started to put the candies, the breath mints. There's the breath mints for me. There's breath mints I give to people when I'm like, you need it. But it's just all of these things are just sometimes the airport bathroom. I'm opening it with my shoulder and there's a sister behind me and I use my elbow because I don't want her to have to put her hands on the handle because we just wash our hands. So, or the bacterial soap goes in my bag of different scents. I give them away sometimes. If a sister is in the bathroom and she's looking around and the soap is weird, I'm like, I got you. And I keep filling it up. But it's those things we do for each other. And it's selfless. And that's where you say, like, oh, I have grace. You don't have to go look for it. You are grace. You have it. I love that. I love that about us. I love Black women. I'm just so happy to talk to you.
Same. I love Black women. Black women are my thing. Like being one, favorite thing. Top of my profession, literally on my business card, because why not? It's my business. What? I'm a Black woman. Shouts out to my mom and dad. You know what I mean? And I love us for our code, for our comforts, for those special spaces. Like this, we only read books written by Black women, any genre, but only written by Black women. It has opened up a world of Black women stories and excellence, of vulnerability and truth and fairy tale as well, though, and sci-fi, and Black women fishing, and Black women dancing, and Black women falling in love, and Black women falling out of love, falling in love with themselves. Even when reading this, at first glance or at first Google, you don't know what you're going to read. You're married to someone who is a part of this novel. That's a major sensationalized story. But as the reader, the major love story that we are reading about, no shade to the hubster, is definitely about Aisha. It still was your major love story, though. You still deserve that love. You still deserve that space and time.
Thank you.
Genuinely, it's still your moment. How do you navigate that now, I guess? I just want to know. Now I'm just being nosy. I want to know.
We're allowed to be nosy in here. This, it's tea time. It's tea. But I think for me, and I think about, the kind of the early question you asked, I would not have written the memoir. I would not have used the memoir if it had just been one of the two events in the book that happened to me, right? So if I were focused in my life on the personal loss of my closest chosen sister, I probably would have written maybe a collection of poems that were just maybe focused on that. And that would have been enough. I have already been writing poems for her anyway, but like that would have been enough. If my chosen sister Aisha was still alive and I were grappling just with the violence that was done to my husband, that too might have been poems or nothing, because he wrote a memoir about the experience. And that I would have been like, okay, because I'm also very private. Even though I've written a memoir, it doesn't mean that everybody knows everything about me or that everyone can have access to me. And I know in this space, the saying, like, Black women are not for everybody. So I can write a memoir, I can have a very well-known, famous husband, but I'm still private. And really, until the violence happened to him, it really wasn't in the Google or media or anything that we had married, because that's how under the radar of like, I'm minding my business, I'm moisturized, drinking water, I'm getting married, and I'm doing my work. As Audre Lorde, says, like, I'm here to do the work. I've come to do my work. That's what I've come to do as a Black warrior woman. So when the two things happen together, they kind of attach to each other. It was less than a year. So you're having your best friend, and then your best friend dies. Your husband is almost murdered. It's not even a year. So you don't even know who you are, what's going to happen. And so I think for me, as far as when it comes to my husband, it's like my book and his book are almost like I go kind of back in time, so that if you read his memoir or know about what happens, by the time he's attacked, I'm still trying to understand why my best friend is not here. Even now with this memoir, sometimes I want to call her and be like, girl, guess what? I'm in Harper's Bazaar, girl. And I'm like, oh, she's not here. But I talk to her anyway. So I think with him too, there's so much energy that can be around him that I needed my own space in the book too. I also think the role, and I think this is a particular issue for Black women, the role of the caretaker and the caregiver is crucial. We have to open up what this means to us. There is a lot of caretaking that I have to do now in my life that I didn't anticipate having to do that when I got married. I was like, I'm grown, I'm over 40. This is what I choose. I want something non-traditional. I'm not having children. I'm a lovely auntie. I have a niece and nephew. I am fly auntie, but I'm traveling. I'm writing books. This is what I want. And so imagine two, not even a year, that is all flipped. That's gone. There's a whole different thing now. And I don't have a map for that. I don't have muscle memory for that. So I had to work and still have to work to understand the new terms that are constantly changing as time continues. But what I'll say about my husband, like we laugh all the time. There's humor, there's grown, there's communication. And he is kind of one of my biggest cheerleaders. He'll be like, look, I just saw on Google, they're doing this for your book. Do you need me to do that? Did you drink water? Do you want me to run you a bath? And I'm like, oh, yes, this is, I love this. So, we support each other because also when you go through a life or death, and I mean life or death situation on an international stage, a lot of things get realigned in the relationship of what's really important, what matters, what time you have available, and stakes are high. And so you then carry that into spaces of, I don't take things for granted. I also know that I've done so much work to save my life in this past year that the self-love, which you mentioned, allows me to be present for him, present for this space, present for creating art and writing. And I also, I know Black women saved my life, period, point blank. My mother's spirit, from the moment the first event happened, she's been here, she's with me. So, when my mom passed, I was holding her hand. And when I saw her, I said, oh, look at her. She's given me another gift. I'm not afraid to die now because I can see her peace. My mom she's doing a lot of things on the other side for me, and she's taking care of me. So I feel protected. So all of these things I think help. I'm glad that out of the things that have happened in the last few years for me, I do have love. I do have someone who lights up when I come into the room, who is wanting to help me be the best version of myself that I am growing for myself. I'm not depending on somebody else to grow me. I planted and rooted myself, but you have to ask for help. You have to admit when you need help and allow and accept, which sometimes I think as Black women, we're not allowed to say, hey, I'm tired. Like I'm tired. And I'm also like Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm sick and tired. I can't. And, the T word, which is therapy, has been a huge, huge, huge. I'd have a team of therapists pretty much put me back together after these two events. And my husband was one of the biggest supporters of like, not keep going and take care of me. He was like, we need to get you help. You can't live this way.
Give Black women some advice on that. You had to get a team and you had to be built back together, which is a very vulnerable space, very scary space. You have to trust a lot. And to your point, Black women are big on the rebrand. Black women are very privatized. I'm private. I'm a big mouth that considers themselves to be private. I have my core 30 or 40 or 50 things that I share candid. I can experience something and tell it a certain way, but I still keep things close to my heart. Me and God, very, very intimate. Think about the Black women who deal with these times of shame or lack of support. The T word, there's spaces where therapy is very taboo. I was reading an article. Was it an article or was it Drew Barrymore? Let me not tell a lie. It could have been Drew. I love me some Drew Barrymore. But anywho, Oprah was telling her that she doesn't go to therapy. She's never been to therapy because of the spaces that I've seen Oprah in, lots of the wellness spaces and mindfulness. Maybe everyone doesn't need it. I don't know because I think it's so yummy. I think everyone should get down with the therapy train. What about the Black women that are like, okay, I don't see anyone else doing it. I know I'm feeling unbalanced. What's a good way to start? Because it's hard to open up the yellow pages and get a therapist. Like, how do you start?
I mean, that's a really good question, first of all. I mean, I think the first thing is surrendering to yourself. If you do forever, whatever reason, like you surrender to yourself, you surrender your ego, you surrender the shame. I grew up therapy in my house. My mom would be like, I have a grocery bill for 4 kids. You're the eldest. You got work to do. We talking about no therapy. You need to go to church.
Yeah.
You know, like, is your leg broken? Is your arm broken? Is your neck broken? Therapy is not for you. Have broken bones, we can go to the doctor, but that's it. Like, oh, you need to get vaccinated. That was not growing up. Like, you know, and in the book, I talk about real mental health crises that I endured from childhood, being a sexual assault survivor, and all other kinds of things happened. And so I was textbook needing therapy, but I couldn't until my piece really say, you know, this isn't about, you know, just spray myself down with some Windex and wipe it off, or just drink some ginger ale and then I'll be healed. So I think there's a surrender.
Or your menstrual
I think
cycle,
there
right? This
is
idea
there
of that
anyone you
balance is
can
based
talk
on your
to?
hormones. Yeah.
If there's not anyone in your life that you can talk to, trust and allow yourself to reach out. Sometimes it's better that you don't talk to anyone who knows you, because they may be part of the actual infrastructure that is oppressing, or not necessarily oppressing, but it's complicated.
Yeah.
So you almost can't like reach into the fire to then be like, I'm trying to like, you know,
Yeah.
heal from a burn. Like I'm burnt and now I'm trying to reach into the fire to find relief or peace. It's not going to work that way. Everyone has different wounds, because that means we're human. We all have different kinds of grief. Childhood is its own territory. So I think one of the silver linings, one of the blessings, if I can call it that, from the two events that I went through, is that I was scorched earth. There was nothing there. And I was just like, I don't know how to start over. I did all of this stuff building this like Rachel Eliza Griffiths I was going to be, but I actually had quite a bit of shame. I had imposter syndrome. I wanted to people please. I didn't feel comfortable with boundaries. I was awful. And I was just sometimes just a mess of emotions, because I'm like, how can I help myself? I know when I'm doing things I shouldn't do. Why am I self-destructive? Why do I feel lonely and sad all the time, even in rooms of people? Like no one's listening to me. They're not hearing me. They're not listening to me. Everyone seems to have an agenda. What's my agenda? What do I want? And so, you know, I have friends, they don't go to therapy. They're like, girl, please, I'll pay money to go on a trip. I'm not paying my money and giving these people money. Or there are people who want it and maybe they don't have health insurance, or it's very finicky. But also, I will say to you also, sis, like the amount of medical racism and prejudice that Black women experience. I watched my mom from age 11 in the hospital, in and out. Since I turned 11, she had kidney failure. She was on a list. She had all of these things. She was in the hospital all the time. I saw doctors, they wouldn't even touch her. They didn't want to give her the blood transfusions. The nurses would grab her little arm. She was barely 80 pounds, and poke the needle in when she would tell them, this arm doesn't have any more veins for you to do that. And they would still just, and she would be crying. And I would watch this. Also, not want to lay my hands on people, but also just like,
yeah,
this is wrong. Everyone should be able to go into a hospital and feel like the people there value their body, their pain, their suffering, their need to heal, to look at the name on the chart and see a person and not just a problem. And so it's so systemic that you can kind of feel sometimes. I've had therapists where I've sat in the room and looked across at this person and I'm like, I have to get out of here. This isn't the person.
This is a real something, because it's the old rhetoric about go to college. Many people don't know what a FAFSA is, the steps that it takes to go to college, what happens when you get there, what are books, but they want you to finish. It's the same idea with therapy. People want you to go to therapy, but the idea that you can cancel your therapist, you can change. I don't hear many people say that. Yeah.
You can change. And there's a part of your ego too. Like when I finally found the therapist I've worked with now for 15 years, a part of me was like, oh, this is a man. I don't, you know. And I was like, girl, you done jump about 4 therapists. Now this isn't about the therapist. This is about you not wanting to sit in this room and look some things in the mirror. And this is where we're going to stop. This person is offering you a discounted rate and you are broke. You need help. Sit here and give yourself like a year. See what happens in a year. It's been 15 years now. When these events in this book happened, I had to start EMDR. I had to have a different kind of therapy because my body started shutting down actually. And I was like,
what is EMDR? Is it sound? Is it touch? What is it exactly?
it's kind of rapid eye where you're kind of preventing your brain. Your brain will naturally, like your actual brain. I've learned all this stuff about the brain, which is wild. So I'll nerd out for a minute. But when you're doing this with your eyes and your brain has to do this, you're then allowed to kind of go back into memories and revisit very painful things without any judgment. You're almost just observing what happened to you and witnessing it. Sometimes you can get information that you just, if you were just talking to someone and you're looking at them, you can't really get it. It's not hypnosis. You're kind of tricking or diverting your physical brain, like your eyes, and then you kind of go in and you have to do it with someone you trust. And again, this is where, it's scary to let yourself be vulnerable, that someone is guiding you through very traumatic things to help heal you, but you have to have trust. And for me, having so many over a decade of therapy and seeing changes, small wins at first, but I am a very healed, happier, intentional, joyous, excited about life, no matter the pain. I have a toolkit now, and it involves calling my friends. I text out love messages to my sisters, to my brothers, to my baby sister, Melissa. That's my heart. That's my only sister, my youngest sister. I love her. Just checking in on other people, being of service. And then I just wake up like, what's my gratitude? Because for a while, my nightmares were so bad, I wouldn't go to sleep. And I also thought if I go to sleep, I might not wake up. And I've had sisters in my life who went to sleep and they didn't wake up. So it's just so much that feels mysterious, but if you unpack it a little bit day by day, it's something small. Like if you're going through a lot and you get up and brush your teeth or put on your beautiful red lipstick, or, you just have a nice meal for yourself, or you watch something that makes you laugh, you did something. You did more than what you did yesterday. That's fine. But being on other people's timelines will do you a disservice every time. Now, if you're stuck and you're not stabilized, you might need real professionals who you don't have to feel guilty about because it's their job to help you. They're a resource. That's what they're professionally trained to do. You may not want people who love you to witness you in pain, but sometimes you can be surprised that they say, thank you for letting me see what's really going on here. Thank you for not hiding anymore and being the strong friend. Cause I also love that role. I should have got an Oscar for that. I would just be the strong friend, and anyone say, how are you? I'm fine. I'm good. Good, girl. Good.
You know me. You know how I do. All cold for I'm pulling my hair out, but I put it in a bun and I'm not going to tell you about it.
So I just, I could go on and on, but I feel like there are things available, experiments. Maybe it's art therapy. I go as much as I can to sound baths. A sound bath for me is like an hour of therapy. It's vibrational, it's peaceful. Your sleep after a sound bath, that's that mouth open, drool coming out. You wake up feeling like healed, like you went somewhere else to like a spiritual realm. Your dreams, you just calm. The volumes turn down on drama and anxiety, and you're like, oh, I can hear my voice. I wake up, and I think Nikki Giovanni said this, and it landed probably somewhere years ago in me, where she would say she wakes up and she looks in the mirror and she's like, I love you. I love you. I do this all over the place because I'm shy and anxious and introverted. I will wake up and look at myself. I'm like, oh my God, look at you. You are pretty. Have all my face stuff on, my little eye cream, raggedy crust in my eye. And I'm like, ooh, I love you, girl. What are we doing today that brings us joy? And it's simple. I'm making coffee. I'm smiling. I'm a little meditation. I'm showing up here. I just want to say to the sisters in this community, I see you and I care. I really do care.
Care matters. We're readers, we're writers, we're feelers too. All Black women that are the only Black women in their company, they're in the sisterhood together. You'd be shocked at how much people just want to be heard. End of sentence. Just want to be heard, want a chance to feel valued in their opinion or their stance or their emotions. I think you did a beautiful job with this novel. I cannot wait for it to get into the hands of other sisters, especially in the sisterhood, because again, I'm biased. I want them first. This is going to be a smash. It's that good. It's so good. The visuals. You're so amazing with prose and the sadness was so raw. I felt the strength and the grief. I'm super proud to know the journey you've had and the fact that you're on the other side of healing. A Black woman that feels balanced and real, polished, but not performative. You got the Ari stamp. I know this was not easy to write. That is my personal battle as someone who does spoken word, and people started reading my journals. I found playful ways to play with my inners because I didn't feel comfortable enough to just share. It became a beauty art, but also through growth in my own healing, I realized that sometimes I have to just tell the story too. Like I can't hide behind the metaphor and the glitter and the glam. It was great. I know the sisters are gonna love it.
So that really means so much to me, and thank you. And I love your glam.
Thank you.
I think you're lovely.
Thank
I'm really
you.
glad to be here with you, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Okay. We will ask for an address from your people so we can send you one of these bookmarks. This is the one. We make a new one every year. This is going in the vault in March, and then a new one is coming out. Big sis
So
energy.
beautiful. I love that.
So you're officially in.
Sis, that's gorgeous. I will treasure. Thank you.
Yes. And so it's important because they are milestones for the years. Don't make me cry. I've been trying to hold back tears this entire chat. Thank you so much. Offline and online. I don't do this for no reason. When I read a real thing, it resonates with me. It gives me hope, magnifies the faith that I already have, that we're all here for a reason and to share. This is powerful. Definitely, especially because you cried. You're getting the bookmark. What? We're definitely sending this. When the book comes out, we will be picking up copies. We'll be sharing it with the sisterhood.
I'm coming back.
Come back.
Truly. Thank you so much.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate you both. I appreciate the sisterhood, and I'm grateful for our community and how we continue to imagine peace, calm stories, our bodies, and all the things we dream of and the things we want. So bless up for everybody. Appreciate you, London.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You can grab your novel if you have it available. And what we do is we shake our books about and we say, well read, sister.
Well read, sister.
Yes. Shake, 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 shake. And you are in. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing your minutes with us. Okay, now with that, I'll do my catchphrase. Oh, and get your Well Read Sisters merch if you like from wellreadsisters.com/shop. And the bag says I read it for my sisters.
Check y'all out.
As always, please take all the joy you've gotten from this meeting and share with another person, especially a Black woman.
Cut from a sturdier cloth. I think the fabric was dungaree.